Yaakov. Where should I put the camera? Where should I put it now? 23 pounds. Where should I put it? Where should I put this? I get this close now. What do you think? Where should I put it on here? You see, we went live. Take a look.
Got a new iPhone.
Nah, shoot me over here.
You have a link? Can you airdrop me a link?
Where should I put it on here?
Very good over there,
Isaac, pass me a couple of cups of the water, please. Thank
Pass some water, please. Water. I'll take grapes also.
No bad. No bad. No bad. Drink water at your own risk.
What's your presentation?
Longest previews ever.
After you have to yearn for it.
Okay, good yontif, everybody. Good yontif. Chaim, a good yontif. It's good? No? You know, I'll tell you the truth, one of the biggest chussim a person can have coming into this goof of Yom Naroyim is to be someone that's needed by the klal. So, everyone that was mushtaqif to put this together, along with everything else that we do, we're holding by Chayel already tonight, so every single one of you that was mushtaqif to put this together on all levels, which will be the biggest chus. Baal Shem shall bless each and every one of you with a k'sim v'ch'sim toiva, gukah b'shyar, simcha nachas from the whole family, the whole tzibur, of course. All right, so you know it's nice when we do like huge community-wide events. That's something nice about just being amongst friends, people that speak the same language a little bit. So what's Chayel? So first of all, Chayel is Yankee Bobson's birthday. It was almost Lieutenant Dan's birthday by a few days, but didn't make it. Okay, but it's also the Baal Shem's birthday, and it's also the grandson of the Baal Shem's birthday. Who's the grandson of Baal Shem? Who's the spiritual grandson of Baal Shem? It's the Baal Tanya. Baal Tanya used to call the Baal Shem the Zayda. That's what he used to call him. He said once to Baruch Mezhevish, who was biologically the Baal Shem's grandson, he said to Baruch, he said, "You think you're the Baal Shem's grandson? Really, I'm the Baal Shem's grandson." So you have the birthday of the Zaydi, the Baal Shem, and the birthday of the Anikel, the Baal Tanya. Another event that took place on Chayel, on the Baal Shem Tov's 36th birthday. When the Baal Shem Tov turned 36, that's when he decided to begin Hafatzas Mayanis, to begin to spread his Torah throughout the world. And we know that there's a Messiah amongst Chabad that even before the Baal Shem Tov turned 36, he was part of a Chabura, of a secret society of Tzaddikim and Nestorim. This group of Tzaddikim and Nestorim, I spoke about this on Shavuos. This group of Tzaddikim and Nestorim really goes back, it's like 150 years before the Baal Shem Tov. And there was this secret underground society of Tzaddikim. And the Baal Shem Tov, when he was the head of this society for a number of years. And then when the Baal Shem Tov became 36, obviously it was revealed to him in a Shemayim that it's time to take the group public. And that's what the Baal Shem Tov did on his 36th birthday. Now obviously the year 36 is obviously a significant number. When we think of Lamed Vav, what do we think of? Lamed Vav Tzaddikim Nestorim, 36 hidden Tzaddikim. So what's interesting is, I guess this is the first thing to think about, is that when the Baal Shem Tov took the movement public on his 36th birthday, so it would seem superficially that what the Baal Shem Tov did was basically end this secret society. It's not a secret anymore. Until that point, the group of tzaddikim, they were called tzaddikim Nestorim, and all of a sudden the Baal Shem Tov now makes it not mystery, makes it now public, which means that he just ended that 150-year-long tradition of this secret society of tzaddikim. So it can't be, so that's a power. It can't be that Torah of Baal Shem Tov, which is the beginning of bringing to that final tikkun, can't be that the tikkun that the Baal Shem Tov brings to the world is on the destruction of the Chevra of Tzaddikim Nestorim. So how could it be that Baal Shem Tov goes public with the secret society, it's no longer secret, and that destroys the Tzaddikim Nestorim's Chabura? So I understand maybe it was for a good reason, he has to have a Fatzas Mayanis, but how could it be that Baal Shem Tov is bringing a tikkun to the world on the destruction of what was? So it must be. The Torah of Baal Shem Tov is not a contradiction to the concept of being a tzaddik nister. It must be that the secret of Torah Baal Shem Tov is to bring the concept of a tzaddik nister to the whole world. that even when the Baal Shem Tov makes public this inyan of what was going on for 150 years behind the scenes, what was going on behind the scenes of this inyan of tzaddik and nistarim, the Baal Shem Tov is spreading that to the whole world. Well, now every single Jew can now be shaykh to that inyan of Lam Vav Tzaddik. That's what it must be. And therefore the Baal Shem Tov is not dismantling the old Chabura, he's expanding the old Chabura. Then everyone is part of this secret society. So the question though is, how is it possible that everyone could be on, and how could everyone be a member of a secret society? It's not a secret anymore. But it has to remain a secret, otherwise the Baal Shem Tov is destroying it. So you have to understand what that means. Okay, the Gemara says that in order for a person to be judged positively in Rosh Hashanah and to have a Ksimach Simatoiva, you have to be a tzaddik. Tzaddikim are nechtamim techayim. The Shaim is fakert. And Beinim wait until Yom Kippur, but by Yom Kippur they better become a tzaddik. So if there was ever a time that the song, every Yid's a big tzaddik, has to be true, it better be true now. If the Baal Shem Tov's birthday, which is Chai El, which is the beginning of the beginning of entering into the Yom Neroim, and the Baal Shem Tov on his 36th birthday brings to the whole world the inyan of being a tzaddik nister. So it must be that it's through Tarsa Baal Shem Tov that every single one of us has the ability, no matter whatever our level is, to be defined as a tzaddik for Rosh Hashanah. So this is the avodah of tonight and going forward, to somehow find a way to find a Pesach within Tarsa Baal Shem Tov, a Pesach to Tarsa Baal Shem Tov, in such a way how we could all be considered a tzaddik nister, we could all be lamed vav tzaddikim, and not only is that a gevaldik zach by itself, but that's mamish the only way we'll survive Rosh Hashanah and Kippur. You have to be a tzaddik for Rosh Hashanah. So what does that mean? What does Baal Shem Tov, how does Baal Shem Tov do that? Another question. So the main tool that we have on Rosh Hashanah in order to make sure that we're all tzaddikim is the shofar. But it's interesting is that the way the mitzvah of shofar is, as we all know this, is that it's not just you blow the shofar. The way it's supposed to be, which is what we do by Musaf, is as the Gemara says, Imru Lefanei Malchias, that we have 10 psukim that we say, psukim of Malchias, talking about Hashem being the king. You have 10 psukim of Zechrainis, talking about how Hashem remembers us the time. 10 psukim talking about shofar. And we blow the shofar in association with all those amirs, with all those sayings. So we say 10 psukim of Malchias, we blow the shofar. We say 10 psukim of Zechrainis, we blow the shofar. We say 10 psukim of shofars, and we blow the shofar. So the secret of shofar and the koach of shofar is not unleashed with just the sound of the shofar. It's fully unleashed when there's a yichud and a tzirav between the sound, the overwhelming sound of the shofar, with the saying of the 10 psukim of Malchus, Zechronis, and shofars. And that is how a Jew becomes a tzaddik on the din of Rosh Hashanah. So what does that mean? What's this meaning of the shofar? The sound of the shofar is not enough. It has to be connected with 10 psukim. 10 psukim is not enough. It needs to be connected with the shofar. That yichud. What's the meaning of that? And finally, one last question. We know that one of the major pu'ulas, the major tikkunim that the shofar does, is la'arviv es asad. It confuses the sudden. We blow many kailas. We blow even the foremost of la'arviv to confuse the sudden. All the tkiyas of Elul on some levels also to confuse the sudden. So what's this in of confusing the sudden? He gets confused every year. How does the shofar do all these things? It's mamlech Hashem. It makes us all tzaddikim. It connects us all to that secret society of tzaddikim, and also it confuses us suddenly. So what's the in of shofar? What's going on over here? And how do we get into Rosh Hashanah? So it's like this. Everything I'm going to say right now is obviously it's Torah, but I'll tell you the truth. I feel very strongly that from this point on, really from this point on, Chai Elan, every single person in their own way, we have to be makir, we have to be very careful that everything we say is a tefillah. Everything we say is a tefillah, that the Rebbeinu Shalom should be done, everyone, the kav schus, they should be tzaddikim, and we should all have a year of gulas and yeshuas, but afrat or b'chlal, I believe that. So everything I'm going to say is a Torah, but it's also a tefillah against the Baal Shem Tov in his way. But there's one kasha that the Nefesh HaChaim raises in the Sefer Nefesh HaChaim, Chaim Volozhiner, and this is the Ikar Kasha on Torah Baal Shem Tov. And in order to answer this kasha, you have to get to the mamish, the pnimius of what the Baal Shem Tov brought to the world. Because without the answer to this question, you can't be a chassid, and you can't be kin to the Baal Shem Tov, and the Baal Shem Tov is not going to be able to make us all part of that secret society. So what's the kasha? The kasha is like this. According to the Baal Shem Tov, the way of the Avodas Hashem, according to the Baal Shem, is that everything in Yiddishkeit is revolving around one inyan and one madrega and one way of living, one way of thinking, that all of Yiddishkeit is trying to get us to, and that is the moichin, the consciousness of Einoi Movada. Molei Kolars Kavaydai, the Rebbeinu Shalom is everywhere, everything is Molei Kedusha, everything is part of God's world. What's called Yichud Ilah, the higher unity. That despite the fact that the Rebbeinu Shalom created a world in which He conceals His light, and now there is a tent, and there is outside the tent, and there's all different madregas within outside the tent, and there's all madregas within the tent. A world full of different chalukim madregas and boxes and so on. But the Baal Shem Tov said that that's all Hester Panim. The emes be'emes, there's a madrega which is called Yichud Ilah, the higher unity, that everything is godliness and everything is saturated with His light. And the Baal Shem Tov taught that the ikar inyan of Avodas Hashem is to get to that place, is to live in the moichin of Einam Milvan. Okay? But here's the kasha. So it comes from Chaim Volozhiner. Chaim Volozhiner has the kasha. I'll share with you a few lines. This is from Nefesh HaChaim. He doesn't say Baal Shem, but this is what his kasha is. Yovei hatoya lishal. If a person goes with this philosophy of the Baal Shem Tov, that that's what the Ikar and Avodas Hashem is about, then here's the problem. Harei kol tachlis Torah mitzvahs hilagalis ilakusa yisbarach b'tachtoinu. Says Chaim Volozhiner, I don't understand. The entire purpose of Torah mitzvahs is what? Is to reveal God's presence in the world. It means that when it comes time for davening Ma'ariv, it means there's Hester Panim. The world without Ma'ariv is a world of Choshech and Toiv Avoyim. And the Rebbeinu Shalom gave us the mitzvah of davening Ma'ariv to bring light to the world and to reveal God's presence and to bring His light into the world through Ma'ariv. But the kasha is, if you wake up in the morning and the Baal Shem Tov said that the whole inyan of every single moment of every single day is to realize what Yichud Ilah, the higher unity. Then Einoi Milvadai, Moloi, Kolars Kavaydai. All Hester, all darkness and chaos is all just Hester Panim. But the truth of all truths is Einoi Milvadai, Moloi, Kolars Kavaydai. Then says the Nefesh HaChaim, then what's the tachlis of davening Ma'ariv? What's the tachlis of doing mitzvahs? God's light is already here. What are you accomplishing then? To bring God's light to the world. God's light is already here. The Einoi Milvadai, Umay Avodah b'Kol Torah Mitzvah. Then what are we accomplishing already? Everything's done. So it says in Chaim Volozhiner, so it must be. If there's still room for Torah and mitzvahs, then it must be. Then it must be that although maybe it's true on some level that Einoi Milvadai, but it must be that Avodas Hashem is not oriented to that. It must be that Avodas Hashem doesn't exist within that consciousness of Einoi Milvadai. And it must be that the Rebbeinu Shalom gave us Torah and mitzvahs. It means that He doesn't want us to be living in that place of Einoi Milvadai. He wants us to be living in the dimension of what? Of the lower unity. He wants us to be living in a dimension where there is Hester Panim, there is Choshech, and we're here to bring light to that Choshech, not to live in a place that there already is all light. Rak be'itim mezumana. Says Chaim Volozhiner, the only time where I agree with the Baal Shem that a person can be in that place of Einoi Milvadai is at certain times. K'may b'shas kriyish tefillah, v'chein b'shas sakana. So then you can be in that place of Einoi Milvadai. Ach ikar havodah, but the regular moment of life where the Rebbeinu Shalom is telling you do a mitzvah and learn Torah and say Tillim and do tzedakah, and the purpose of Torah and mitzvahs is to reveal Elokus, is to reveal God's presence in the world and to bring God's presence into the world. So tzrich liyas inside Yichud Tatorah, then that requires that you shut off that part of the mind, that part of the neshama of Einoi Milvadai. So this is the time of the Nefesh HaChaim. How could it be that the whole tachlis, that Yiddishkeit is what? Is to bring a person to a place of Einoi Milvadai. But in that place of Einoi Milvadai, you now undermine the entire possibility of avodah, of Torah and mitzvahs. So how could the tachlis of Torah be to bring you to a place which then there is no Torah? So it must be, says Nefesh HaChaim, that the whole thing is not true. It must be tachlis of Avodas Hashem is not to get you to Elul. It's to be in a place, in a reality that we see it, where there's tents, and there's outside the tents, and there's boxes, and the chulu madregas, and you do the best you can to bring light there. And every mitzvah brings some light. But there's a place of Elul Vade that's clearly not where we're supposed to be. This is the kasha. It's a good kasha. So to understand the answer to this has to take us to the essence, to the etzem of what Nishmas Baal Shem Tov is, what Nishmas Baal Shem Tov brings to the world. Because only by understanding Nishmas Baal Shem Tov on some level can we begin to answer this kasha. So it's interesting. We know that there's a concept of Gugulim, of reincarnation. By the Mukubal, by the Farbregen Mukubal, there's a big sugya reincarnation. It's a big Indian to figure out who your Gilgul is, to where you come from. By the Baal Shem Tov, not as much. But the Baal Shem Tov did reveal once what his Gilgul Rishon was, who he was in a previous life. And interestingly enough, the first life of the Baal Shem Tov was Rav Sajigan. Sajigan, or Asag, or Sajigan. Okay. So what does that tell us about the Baal Shem? There's something, obviously this time is time of tshuva, right? El's tshuva, seriously tshuva. There's something that you'll find in the Svarim, and it became like a saying. There's something that's called in the Svarim the tshuva of Rav Sajigan. Tshuvas Rav Sajigan. You ever heard of tshuvas of Rav Sajigan? Not as tshuvas like shalos and tshuvas. The tshuva, the repentance of Rav Sajigan. What is that? There's a famous mindset they say about Rav Sajigan, and most people don't know much Torah about Rav Sajigan. He was a guy. But this people know. The Mai says that Rav Sajigan was like on a regular day, and one of the Talmidim came to Rav Sajigan, they went to his office or something, and he was mamish sitting like in Kippur, Hashem, Uganda, crying b'chiyas. He said, Rebbe, what's wrong? And Rav Sajigan says, I'm doing tshuva. It's Tuesday, middle of the year, what are you doing tshuva? The Rebbe didn't have Aveira or something. So Rav Sajigan said, every day I do tshuva. Why? Because every day I grow in my hasagis, I grow in my madregas of understanding God, and I realize that my understanding of God yesterday was mamish mistake. And so I do tshuva on my tshuva, I do tshuva on my mitzvahs, I do tshuva on my hasagis. That's called the tshuva of Sajigan. In the Kutam Aran, for example, in the piece, was it Vav, Tes, I can't remember, the piece where he talks about the Kavanas of El, so there also he brings in this Indian of the tshuva of Sajigan, do tshuva on tshuva, tshuva on tshuva. So this is what most people, all they know of Rav Sajigan is this nice. So it must be Bashgacha Pratis. If all the Torahs and all the Gilui and all the Inyan of Rav Sajigan, this is what makes it to the Hamayinam, and the Baal Shem Tov is a Gilgul Rav Sajigan, it must be this is getting to the essence of what the Baal Shem Tov is. So what is that? Here's the Yisod. The Yisod that all of Torah Chassidus is rooted on, is founded on, and without this Yisod, the Nefesh HaChaim, the Chaim Rosh's Kasha is unanswerable. The answer is that everything is relative. Everything is relative. What do I mean? Just like Rav Sajigan revealed in that Ma'aseh, that whatever level of Elokus that Rav Sajigan in that particular day was masik, that hasoga, that connection to godliness of that day is considered kleinikaiden compared to the God that he's going to meet tomorrow. That's what the Ma'aseh Rav Sajigan means. It means that the Baal Shem Tov, the essence of Torah Baal Shem Tov is founded on this Yisod. That who is God, we have no idea. And whatever level of Ein Sof, of infinite light that a person comes in contact with, you should know that that level of infinite light is not considered infinite based on the next level that's above it. Whatever level of Elokus a person attaches himself to is considered infinite, relatively speaking. It's considered infinite relative to anyone less than him, but it's considered absolutely finite compared to a level that's above it. Rechaim Volozhiner asked the Shayla. He said, how could it be that the Tachas of Avodas Hashem is to be in a place of Einam Ovada, and yet there's still room for Avodah, there's still room for mitzvahs? Mitzvahs demand a situation that needs fixing. But if you're in a place of Einam Ovada, there's nothing to fix. The answer is, of course you could be in a place of Einam Ovada. And Einam Ovada relative to a lower level is perfect. But Torah of Baal Shem Tov is rooted on this inning, which is that everything is relative. What's considered to be today Einam Ovadai, what's considered to be today perfect and absolute light, relative to what tomorrow might bring, is still considered Choshen. And the Chiddush of the Baal Shem Tov is that even when you reach a place that you think is Ein Sof, is infinite, that's only infinite compared to where you are right now. But compared to where you're going to be tomorrow, it's not infinite at all. Even in that place of Ein Sof, what we would consider to be Einam Ovadai, the Meichin of Einam Ovadai, if you're in that place of Einam Ovadai, the Baal Shem Tov says, there's a higher level of Einam Ovadai. And compared to that higher level of Einam Ovadai, where you are right now, is still broken and still full of Choshen. This is what it means that Baal Shem Tov was a builder or a Sajigan. You know, I ask you Shiloh, let me ask you another question. The Rizal was teaching Torah, right? The Talmidim asked the Rizal in Sfas, they asked him, Rebbe, why don't you write a Sefer? Why don't you write the Torah? The Rizal didn't write any Torah. I mean, you have Torahs from before he was the Rizal. Once he became the Rizal, so to speak, there was no Torahs anymore. He couldn't write. He said. And Chaim Vital was the one that was chosen to write. So Talmidim asked, Rebbe, why don't you write yourself? And then whatever you say will be mamish clear. The Rizal said, I can't. Because whenever I even begin to try to constrict my Torahs into particular words, it's an ocean, it's Ein Sof. I can't be mitzamtzim. Only Chaim Vital can do that. So this is sense. How does Chaim Vital do that? How does Chaim Vital take something that's Ein Sof and put it into specific words and package it? And it's not the pshat that Chaim Vital did what? He left out the Ein Sof part of the Kisveri. That's not what's happened. What Chaim Vital wrote is exactly Torah's Arizal, and the Arizal's Torah is the Torah of Ein Sof. So if the Arizal couldn't be mitzamtzim, if the Arizal couldn't package Ein Sof, which obviously you can't because it's Ein Sof, how could you? It's infinite. The Torahs of the Arizal is talking about Torahs in the universe of Ein Sof. It's talking about Torahs of Einam Ovadai. How could you put that into words? So the Arizal couldn't. Yet Chaim Vital could. So there's a Torah from the Kamarna. I say this, the Kamarna said it. Chaim Vital wrote an autobiography. And in this autobiography, Chaim Vital talks about how very often the Rizal would try to talk to Chaim Vital about his neshama, about Chaim Vital's neshama, and how big it is. The Rizal said once that if you knew how big your neshama is, you'd mamish be perech ba'avi, you'd be floating over the simcha of what you have. And Chaim Vital writes in his own autobiography, he says, I always felt very uncomfortable hearing that about myself. I didn't like that. And there's one time that Chaim Vital records that there was a sentence that the Rizal would say to him often, which is, B'cha kol chem das Yisrael. That within you is the treasure of all of Klal Yisrael. B'cha kol chem das Yisrael. The Kamarna Rebbe said. You know what the Rizal was hinting to Chaim Vital? The kol chem das Yisrael, within you is Nishmas Baal Shem Tov, Yisrael Baal Shem. So within you is the Baal Shem. How is it possible that the Rizal cannot constrict Ein Sof into finite words? And of course not, because it's Ein Sof. If it's infinite, then it's not finite. If it's infinite, it's not in Svarim. It can't be. But yeah, how could Chaim Vital do that? You know why? Because Chaim Vital had within a Nishmas Baal Shem Tov. And the secret of Nishmas Baal Shem Tov is that everything is relative. What's considered Ein Sof is actually packageable and finite compared to what's even above it. And the Baal Shem Tov within Nishmas Chaim Vital is able to look at Torah Arizal and say, Rabbeinu, what you're saying is Ein Sof, but I'm telling you something, there's madrigas of Ein Sof even above what you're talking about. And because there's madrigas of Ein Sof even above what you're talking about, that means what you're talking about is not so Ein Sof. And it doesn't detract from any material or any quality of Torah Arizal. But it means when you have the perspective of what's above the madrega, even above you, then the madrega above you becomes gvul. In other words, think of it like parent to child. A child looks at a parent and is like, wow, my parent is perfect. My parent is a superhero. My parent is amazing, right? And then they, at some point, that ends, right? They realize that it's not so pashut. But think of it like this. that perspective that a child has to a parent, that the parent is infinite, that's only true until the child meets the grandparent. Because once you meet the grandparent, then the child realizes, one second, my father is a child to his father. Which means that although my father is infinite to me, but he's finite compared to his father. The grandfather is able to make the grandchild understand the father. The father all of a sudden is the father's Ein Sof only relative to the child, but not relative to his parent. This is the secret of Teresa Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov allows us to live in that place of Ein Milvado. You know why? Because the Baal Shem Tov says that place of Ein Milvado, you should know there's a grandfather. You should know there's a madrega above that's even more Ein Milvado. And because the madrega that's above the madrega ahead of you, the grandfather's, it's even more Ein Milvado, it means the madrega that you're trying to connect to, the parent madrega, it's Ein Milvado, but it's manageable. It also needs tikkun. It also allows room for, there's also a choshech within that. It's also erechim. It's perfect only relative to you, but it's imperfect relative to the madrega above it. This is not only the underpinnings of Teresa Baal Shem Tov. I'll give you an example. Everyone knows that the neshama through which secrets of Torah are revealed is Elyon Navi. Tishbi Yitaris Kushas advice. Elyon Navi comes to answer all kashas. But who is the Rebbe of the Baal Shem Tov? Who taught the Baal Shem Tov? Not Elyon Navi alone. Achia Shiloini. Who was Achia Shiloini? Achia Shiloini was a Navi, the Rebbe of Elyon Navi. But it wasn't just Achia Shiloini. The Kabbalim said that it was Achia Shiloini contained within Elyon Navi. So it was Elyon Navi, but it was also Achia Shiloini. You see what Teresa Baal Shem Tov is? Not from the Rebbe, but from the Rebbe's Rebbe. The Rebbe's Rebbe. Because this is the essence of Teresa Baal Shem Tov, is that you can be considered infinite, and it doesn't take away from your chesronos. It doesn't take away from the fact that you're imperfect, and you can still be considered perfect. You could still be in a bechina of Ein Milvado, and even Ein Milvado is imperfect. Because guess what? There's higher madrigas of Ein Milvado. But you're Ein Milvado compared to what's beneath you. But you're still imperfect compared to what's above you. In that way, every single madriga can be considered infinite. Every madriga can be considered Ein Milvado. Every madriga can be considered Malay Ar. And it doesn't mean that it doesn't need to work on itself. Because everything is relative. Within the Svardish world, there was one of the great Mekubalim that was mamik in this Indian of the Soida Erech, the secret of everything being relative. And that's the Torah's Chacham. That's the Torah's Chacham, the Chaim de la Rosa, the Talmud of the Rosh Hashanah. And it's a Messiah that the Rosh Hashanah was a Gilgal of the Arizal, and the Torah's Chacham was a Gilgal of Reb Chaim Vital. So weiter, history repeats itself. The Torah's Chacham was a Gilgal of Reb Chaim Vital, is mamik in this sugya specifically of what? Of everything being relative. So he asked, what does it mean that the Baal Shem Tov allows every single year to be a tzaddik nista? That's exactly the essence of Teresa Baal Shem Tov. The essence of Teresa Baal Shem Tov is that every single year can be a tzaddik. Do you know why? Because you know what it means to be a tzaddik? There is no definitive definition of what a tzaddik is. That's the secret of Teresa Baal Shem Tov. There is no definitive definition. Everyone is a tzaddik. What's above you. And the fact that you need work relative to what's above you doesn't take away from you being a tzaddik relative to what's beneath you. You're not a revealed tzaddik. You're not a tzaddik according to every box that you have to fill. You're a tzaddik nister. A tzaddik nister. This means to be a tzaddik nister. Baal Shem Tov didn't undermine the secret society. He allowed everyone to be a member of that secret society. This is secret. It means to be Chai El. This is why Chai El is the birthday of Baal Shem, and it's also the birthday of his Einakol. Because that's the Indian of Teresa Baal Shem Tov, the connection of what? Of the Zaidi with the Einakol. The Zaidi with the Einakol. Because it's after from the Zaidi that the Einakol is able to realize that the Father, who seems to be infinite, is also not infinite. And I have a shaykhis to a madrega of infinity, because even the madrega of infinity has an infinity above it. This is the avodah of Rosh Hashanah. The avodah of Rosh Hashanah is as follows: the Rebbeinu Shalom. What did the Rebbeinu Shalom do on Rosh Hashanah? The Rebbeinu Shalom made a finite world. What was before Rosh Hashanah is what? Ein Sof. Everything was infinite light of God. All of a sudden it comes to Rosh Hashanah and there's boxes, and there's madregas, and there's everything that's specific, and everything that's not finite. That's what Baal Shem does. And because of that, like I've been mentioning before, because of that, the creation itself is Farbregen. The creation itself, Metzius itself, feels guilty over its own existence because it feels that its very existence is a stira to infinity. What's our avodah of Rosh Hashanah? In the way of the Baal Shem Tov, the avodah of Rosh Hashanah is to reveal to the world that even though there's a finite world right now, and even though the world is full of things that need to be fixed, that doesn't take away from the truth that we can still be infinite. And we can still connect ourselves to what was before creation. You know why? Because there was something that was even before creation. Because there's something that was even before there's a grandfather. There's even before infinite. That means the madrega before creation is also relatable. Everything is a gilui. God in his essence is always beyond. Every madrega of connection to God is always giluyim. It's always a revelation of something, which means it's relative. Because God in his essence is absolutely unknowable, that means that every madrega is knowable. This is what Teresa Baal Shem Tov is. That's why, by the way, everyone knows that El is a month. The word El has a lot of Rosh Hashanah, yeah? There's a Rosh Hashanah for El that's brought down by the Magal HaMukis. The Magal HaMukis says that El is Rosh Hashanah, Aron, Luchos, V'Shivrei Luchos. Aron, Luchos, V'Shivrei Luchos. Shaykhs. Because you know what Chayel is? Chayel is the life of the essence. Pnimis of El is Teresa Baal Shem. Pnimis of El is what? Is that you know why you could have an absolute shaykhs to the luchos. And the luchos means Ein Sof. The luchos means what was before creation. The luchos means the Torah, which is the tool the Rebbeinu Shalom used to create the world. It means that even after creation, you can have a shaykhs to pre-creation. You know why? Because you also have a shaykhs to shivrei luchos. So as you have a shaykhs even what came before the luchos, luchos shniyos. Because you have a shaykhs to the grandfather. That's how you can have a shaykhs to the father. You could become the father because of the grandfather. This is the secret of El. So let's go back. So what's the secret of the shofar with the psukim of shofar? Psukim means words that are finite and specific. They have their gvul. That's what words are. It's ideas that are contained that are able to say over in specific words. What's the sound of a shofar? The sound of a shofar is infinite. You know what the secret of Rosh Hashanah is? The secret of Rosh Hashanah is Imr l'fonei malchus, say psukim that are finite, but also use the sound of the shofar at the same time. The secret of Rosh Hashanah is that Avad Rebbeinu Shalom created a finite world. And of course within me there's and things that I have to work on, but it doesn't mean I'm not a tzaddik. It doesn't mean that I'm not infinite. It doesn't mean that I'm not also in a b'china ve'in movada. It doesn't mean that I'm not a tzaddik nister. Being a tzaddik doesn't take away from the fact that you have a million chesronis that you have to work on. Because everything is relative. There is no definitive, concrete definition of what it means abstractly to be a tzaddik. Every yid could be a tzaddik and already is on some level in Erechim. And this is the secret of Teresa Baal Shem Tov. This is what it means to confuse the sudden. You know why? The sudden thrives on one thing, and one thing alone. Structure. That's what the sudden thrives on. And I don't mean that structure is therefore bad, but the inyan of gvul, of finite, of being able to understand and package everything in particular boxes, that is what the sudden uses, and then he thrives. And that's his wheelhouse. Boxes. This yid is this type of guy. This madrega. This thing. The whole inyan of Rosh Hashanah is what? Is to say that even boxes, and even though there are limitations and we have flaws, we have to work on ourselves, and we have to do tshuva, but it doesn't mean that at the same time I'm not an infinite tzaddik. That's ma'arv as a sudden. That confuses us. Doesn't want to make it that. What does that mean? That irva of the sudden is itself the biggest tikkun that we bring to Rosh Hashanah. So what's the avodah? The avodah is to look at yourself, and the avodah is to look at the Jew next to you, and the avodah is to look at the entire world around you, and to say that despite the fact that I know that there's odd things I have to work on, and I know there's things that the guy next to me has to work on, and I know there's things that the whole chevra have to work on, and the whole community, the whole world, the whole universe has to work on. But I also know that the Baal Shem Tov came to the world to reveal this truth, which is that everything is relative. And all the things that I have to work on are relative to what I can become. But it doesn't take away from the fact that who I am now is still Ein Sof compared to what I was. And it doesn't take away from the fact that I'm perfect compared to what I could have been. And it's not a stira. It's not a stira. Every single one of us can be nichtav, the nechtam, la'alter, l'chaim tov, mishon, in the Sifrin Shel Tzadikim Gemurah. And it doesn't take away from all the things we have to work on during our Seres Tshuva. It's not a stira. It's not a stira. And this is ultimately what the Baal Shem brought to the world. You have to admire it. Why do we daven Meir? We daven Meir because even, that's the point, because even in the Bechina of Ein Sof, even in that place of Ein Movadi, there's still what to work on. You get the higher madrigas of Ein Movadi. That's the answer to the Chaim Loshen's Kasha. And again, that itself is what Teres Baal Shem Tov, that's what Teres Baal Shem Tov is, but Kol V'chem V'Yisrael. Hashem Shabbat each and every one of us. As I said, with Chayel is the entrance into the beginning of Yom Noraim. And the ikr way to get to Yom Noraim is to hold the Baal Shem Tov's hand. And Baal Shem Tov whispers into every single one of our ears, you're a tzaddik, you're a big tzaddik, and it doesn't mean you don't have to work on yourself, and you don't have to work on. But it doesn't take away from the fact that you can be, that you are a tzaddik, you be nechtav, and nechtav ma'at l'chaim tov, mashon, be a skol tzaddik, me'er v'min.
Thank
Okay, to make Haftarah, one last Haftarah because I know that I'll get in trouble after 11 over here. So I'm assuming a lot of us will be davening together. Da da da